Good. So anyway, Niels
Yes.
Robitzky, aka Storm.
Yeah. Good
I would say
morning.
90% of the world know you as Storm, or maybe 99%.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
And
you're right. You're right.
it's very few who know you. Procentral is very few who know you as Niels Robitzky.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, my friends all know me by Niels as well. But funny enough, even my father sometimes calls me Storm.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't know if he's joking but he has other nicknames for me too. But yeah, every now and then. But it's like that with many people, huh?
yeah,
It's like I'm so used to it to go by both names. But you're right. I never really thought about the percentage of people who know me by what, but somehow that's a good thing, you know. I
yeah.
think if people want to find out my real name, it's quite easy to do that. I think it's everywhere,
Yes.
from Wikipedia to whatever. But at the same time, you're not that transparent,
Oh.
When you have a pseudonym, when you have an alter ego like that, I think it's quite good.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's also easier for you to separate those two a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, I
if you
don't
need
know.
to.
I think if you have a nickname for that long, you become that nickname anyway.
Yeah.
I wrote a whole paragraph on that in a book that's hopefully gonna come out by the end of this year, where I'm
Ah.
talking about the alter ego effect and how important it was for us hip hoppers who all had probably like a bit of psychological problems when we were younger anyways, like, but if you're shy, if you are, I don't know, maybe even a bit introverted, you could see that Swift was always very introverted, only when he was on the dance floor, it was
Then,
coming out. He became
yeah,
Swift.
yeah.
But other than that, you would probably not even think that
Yeah,
he might be a dancer.
it's interesting for artists, maybe more in hip hop than other, but I think all artists that this is a way of um, express yourself in another context. For me also, I was always on stage. That was much easier to be open than in a private space with 10 people.
Right, right.
Yeah,
If you were on stage or something, it always felt more like a game, like a
yeah,
society game, right? Like
yeah,
that you play. You're this little pond in a like
yeah,
playing Monopoly or whatever. You
yeah,
didn't go in there with your entire bloodline, if you know what I mean, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. But interesting, well, before you became Storm, well, what were you? Where do you come from?
I grew up in North Germany. I am from North Germany, north of Hamburg, from a small town called Eutin. I'm a small town boy.
Yeah.
The town is between, who knows Germany a little bit better, is between Lübeck and Kiel. So about 100 kilometers north of Hamburg. Yeah,
Hmm?
not very close to the Baltic Sea. 10, 15 minutes by car to the Baltic Sea. Our summers were
Yeah.
beautiful. I always went to the beach. Yeah, if
And
I
what were you doing as a kid? I mean, what were interests of your life?
Oh, I tried almost every sport that there is on the planet. I have the feeling. Yeah, from I don't know, like everything. Handball, football, soccer, that is, for the
Yeah.
Americans that are
Yes.
watching. Basketball, tennis even. But
Yeah.
I could only play tennis on a playground, like in a schoolyard, because I never had the money for, the right equipment or even pay for,
Okay.
because you had to rent courts and stuff.
Was anything of this supported by your parents? I mean, was it something that they introduced, like it
Well,
is
my
nowadays? Now it's many things is introduced by the parents.
no, I don't think so. I think that's just what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Whatever I did came from my own will. I don't think my parents tried to push me into anything. It was more like my dad also. My dad played handball, and I think, no, I wanted to play handball because my dad played handball.
Mhm.
It's not that my dad tried to push me into it.
But then you
Uh,
realized you're too small for it.
for handball, no, I didn't
Yeah.
even, no,
No.
not even that. See,
No.
the best player in Eutin was Jens Lübke. I remember his name. He was playing for Kiel,
Yeah.
and Kiel was in first Bundesliga in Germany, and he was smaller than me, as
Yeah.
much, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But
I think so. I mean, he seemed small. Now I'm not sure.
But anyway, are you the same age as me? You're born 68?
69.
69? Okay.
Yeah, I'm
And
born 31st of July, 69. Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
but I think I grew up like every other normal child,
Yeah.
every other small town boy. I think what made it special to live in a small city rather than in a
In Hamburg
let's
or
call it,
in
or
Munich
like a
or
big metropolitan area,
yeah.
is that when you have so many things around you, you also have a lot of distraction. So for me, I think what was good about growing up there is first of all that I was not a fashion victim. So, like whatever fashion happened at a certain time, it kind of like just passed me by, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why I continued breaking, popping, locking, and whatever I was doing. I did it because I liked what I was doing, not because it was fashionable. I didn't care
Yeah, yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And then also secondly, because there was nothing else that I wanted to do. There wasn't anything really, there
No,
wasn't
but
anything else interesting really.
I,
So
I have the similar story because for me it was really that you go to the next smaller town, maybe 5,000 inhabitants, and there you see some hip hoppers. And then that's not big enough. Then you go to the next city, which in my case, Uppsala. Maybe you went then to Hamburg or to Lübeck, and then it becomes a little bit bigger, but it's not big enough. So you want to go further. So that's a drive because you come from a smaller city.
oh yeah, that and then very interesting. Also at a very, very young age already, I remember that I don't know, took a couple of snacks from home and I wanted to see how far can I go. So I was just like, with our neighbor, just started walking, and I remember at some point I realized I was gonna come home for dinner. I was gonna come home too late, and so I had to ask because I didn't even have any money in my pockets or something. So I just had to ask a woman on the street if she could just give me 20 Pfennig back in the days in Germany,
To
20
get the bus.
Pfennig to make a phone call home to tell
Ah,
my mom that I'm coming home late. And when she asked me where I was, and I told her, she was like, "What?" I was
what
like,
are you
"Get
doing?
home. Get
Yes.
home now."
Yeah. Well, anyway, and then how come that because this interview is about you as Storm. How
Yeah.
did you become Storm? I mean, what was your first impression with this culture? It was not a culture yet, but uh, do you remember what sparked you?
To become Storm, that's a bit of a longer story, but we can get to that. In the beginning, I was Swipe Master. That was my first name, and that was, of course, because I did swipes very well, right?
Hmm?
Um, I don't even know if I chose that name or if somebody else gave it to me. But then, back in the days when you were buying shirts with those felt letters on it and stuff,
Hmm?
you had to pay per letter. And I didn't have the money to put Swipe Master, so I only put Swipe, and I thought it
Yeah,
was enough. And when
that's
I
a
went
nice
to
story.
yeah, and when I went to New York for the first time, people were looking at it. They were like, What the hell? That's your name? It doesn't make sense. So I was like, yeah, I know. They were like, no, you need a new name, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, it took a couple of weeks, and then we
And
went
when
to.
was that?
That was in
Which year
90
was that?
in 91 in
So
91.
until 91, you were a swipe master, so to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
But even for that, I mean, nobody called me Swipe Master.
No, 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 no. But
Yeah,
that was,
everybody called me Niels, but it was on my shirt. Also, I didn't really feel comfortable with that name.
no, no.
Like from belt buckles, that we
Yeah.
had with
Oh,
with the
yeah.
name in it to the shirts and everything. It was always kind of bothering. Swift was such a cool name,
Yeah.
because of my partner, right? And me being Swipe, these two names, they kind of like they work
Yeah.
together. Together they made sense, right? Swift
Yeah.
and Swipe. And it was easy to manage. Our management liked it, so we were that team. So that
Yeah.
was okay. But at the end, it sounded like a soft drink. We had a soft drink in Germany that's called Schwipschwap.
Yeah, it was you guys.
You know? like that was a
No, but
soda. So
okay,
some people.
but what was your first contact with the culture? I mean,
Ah, okay.
how
No,
did
I
you
was
come to it?
skating. I was at first I was roller skating. I was
Mm.
roller skating, and then from roller skating, I had my mom skate. She was a very good roller skater, and so I used her skates. She had professional skates, and then I guess my feet grew bigger, and they didn't fit me anymore. So I started skateboarding. I never had a good skateboard, at least not in those days, and I was always hanging around those bigger guys that were like 3, 4 years older than me. We were skating at a bank in my district. And I remember this one day, I just saw one of the guys and he was doing a pirouette, lost his board, and then he did a backslide to get his board back.
Ah,
And
cool.
I was thinking that was before Michael Jackson, that was before everything. And I was just thinking, wow, look at that, like it's a trick. How does he
Did
how does
that?
he skate without roller skates, basically? That's what
Yeah,
I thought.
yeah,
So it looked like, because on roller skates we did that we walked backwards
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
we
That's
did that
right.
move, but of course we couldn't do it, like just with plain sneakers or with plain shoes. So I remember that was probably the first thing that really caught my eye. So that was rather a popping move. I was already doing robot sometime before, at the time when Kraftwerk was coming out,
Mhm.
with We Are the Robots. I think everybody in Germany, when that song came out, everybody
Yeah,
tried to imitate a
that's
robot.
funny. What impact that did? Yeah, funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then later also there was this guy from Bonnie M. I don't know,
yeah,
you remember the group Bonnie M, I'm sure, and they
yeah,
had this guy. He always pretended as if he was singing the male voice in the group, which he was not. But then anyway, like he was
yes.
the dancer, and he did a little bit of something that you could identify as a
Funk dance or
as a robot. I would say he was
that
trying.
more robot.
Every now and then
Okay.
he did a robot,
Yeah, yeah,
but much more like they were doing it on Soul Train. So they didn't stay in character, but they would do some whatever, like whatever
yeah,
dance, disco dance, and whatever. And then in between they did like
yeah.
2 or 3 robot moves. And I remember that I practiced the same thing, but I wasn't really into it that much, right? So
Mm.
I didn't really see that as a dance style yet. And only by the time it was getting colder, um, 1983, it was getting fall, and clips of Flashdance were coming out.
Yeah.
The previews of Flashdance, Malcolm McLaren, Buffalo Gals, that stuff. When we watched these videos for the first time, that's when we realized, yeah, there's this new dance coming out, and uh,
You also had those youth papers that came out with some
yeah,
photos on.
of course. But
Yeah.
that came later. That was
Oh,
later.
yeah,
So
that
at,
was
at
later.
that time, like there were some clips on TV that you've seen where people were doing this dance. I remember when I started, I didn't even know what it was called. Nobody knew what it was called at that moment, at least not around my way. And and then those skaters, the same skaters, they kind of like they were our first-hand information.
Yeah.
And they, because they were into everything that came from America anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a summer camp, and yeah, that's funny. It was called Eurocana Summer Camp, and it was in Sweden that year, and they all went. And
Ah,
so they all went to Sweden, and there were guys like Neil Blender, and from what I heard of that, Terry, what's his name again? Terry Brickster from LA City Rockers, that he was also there.
yeah.
And then
Because they were there skating.
yeah, yeah.
Ah,
And it
yeah.
was a very rainy summer too, so they
Ah,
didn't really spend much time on their skateboards. They were much more in
ah,
the hostel or wherever they were staying. Terry Brixler is his name, yeah, I think.
ah, ah.
Yeah,
Cool. I didn't know.
and so I don't know. I think
So then they came
must have been
back
near
and
Stockholm.
they were maybe also young, older. So they,
Yeah, they were 3, 4 years older.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I happened to end up with Michael, the guy that showed me the backslide.
Mm.
I ended up with him in the crew later on. Him and his partner Marek, they asked me if I wanted to dance with them. And then already in March 84, we had our first manager, and we were touring for Bravo, one of those, youth magazines in Germany. We were touring for them in North Germany, and we did shows
Ooh,
all over
okay.
North Germany.
And then what have you learned in that short time? It was only some month, like half a year.
Yeah, interesting enough, there was this one moment where Marek was the best. I won't say that he was popping, but let's just call it electric boogie for the
Yeah,
sake of it,
yeah.
right? But I remember that we were practicing together and I was doing more or less mostly pantomime stuff.
Mhm.
And then he educated me. He said, like, no, it's, like it's not when everything is outside and you do that glass wall and stuff. He said it has to be in you, it has to be in your body, and you have to do
Ah,
this, and so you fix it, instead of holding your hands here and you come close there, and no, it has to be inside your body. And he kind of like showed me that old man kind of technique at that time, I remember.
ah,
And that kind of like clicked in me. And from that moment, I could differentiate between the people that could already think further and the guys that were just doing the pantomime. So that was
ah.
one very important thing. But then also in breaking, since I saw what the skaters were doing, they were doing caterpillar, they were doing a backspin. Some of them already tried a windmill at that time. What else did they do, man? On the ground, like they had no idea about footwork. They did the coffee mill, the coffee grinder, stuff like that. And but that is stuff that you learn in like 2 weeks or something. So
Yeah. And
the
you
the
did
the
some of
donkey,
that and went on tour then.
yeah,
So,
the donkey kicks, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And then we did
Yeah.
routines, from what we've seen in Malcolm McLaren, when
Yeah,
in the video you
roller.
see you
Yeah.
see you see Wiggles and Fable doing routines, you see other guys, then also interesting, there was also a crew from Kassel. They were touring through Germany for Bravo as well. They were called Dance Connection, and as much as I remember, they were mainly strutters. It
Mhm.
looked like all the Bay Area stuff that they were
Ah,
doing. Yeah, so they were doing a showcase in my town in Eutin, in the club, and Michael, the same guy that taught me the backslide, later on, of course, like at practice, he would try to tell us, look, we got to do more of this chain reaction stuff, and so on and on. So yeah, and I was a little kid back in the days, man.
yeah.
14 years old. I was the kid that they put on their head and they spun me
Yeah.
around and they threw me around and stuff,
Yeah.
So it was more like that. I was the
So
kid that was pulling the
then
stunts.
your first impression was more like, also, I guess here it was also saying that it was not breaking or hip hop or b-boying. It was actually electric boogie that was the first wave. So
Yeah, yeah. But that I would
yeah,
say, it came from Robot. It
yeah,
came from Robot,
yeah,
and I haven't really taken that serious at that time. But when I saw Breakin',
yeah.
I don't know, for some reason, I think because it was more demanding, a lot more
Mm.
demanding. I like that. I really like that physical challenge,
Oh yeah,
that moment. I remember that it was like, no, and even in the beginning, we were already doing head spins. I mean, at least we tried,
yeah. Try, yeah, yeah.
from half a turn to one turn,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's
no, we,
it's such an impressive move. I remember also 84, summer 84, no one could do anything, and no, maybe a backspin, but head spin, that was the thing. When you
yeah.
saw someone standing on the head, oh, look.
Yeah,
Ah,
we would, and from flash dance, of course, we also tried to land on our back, like Frosty
yeah,
Freeze, and
yeah,
we tried all the things that we've seen that
yeah.
were easily to be imitated, but none of us could deal with the footwork at that time that we've seen from Kenny and Legs in flash dances.
But yeah, when when is the next step to form then Battle Squad? Because this is another group. I guess the other guys they faded away, and then you continued. What was the reason that you continued and not the others? And was it that you met Swift already back then, or what
No,
was the
no.
reason that you
So,
continued?
well, first of all, when my homies in my town, when they stopped, there was one guy left, Henrik, and I kind of like pulled him in the crew that I was still doing shows with, because at that time already I kind of like I drifted more towards Lübeck, where there was another guy, very good friend of mine back then. You know, this guy, man, he did so much for me. You know, like when I'm thinking about how my family fell apart and everything, he kind of like he was like my bigger brother. His name was Nick. And Nick had man, his waves were amazing. I remember when I saw him for the first time, I thought it looked like a freaking amoeba. You know, like it was amazing. Yeah. So we teamed up. And so Nick kind of like stayed with me, and then we were doing shows together all the time. So and then Hendrik, my best friend from Eutin, he joined us. So we were doing shows together. It was the three of us. Um, I'm not sure. I can't say whether these two, whether Nick and Henrik, whether they were dancing more or less because we had shows, but for me it was so much more intrinsic.
Mm.
I just love to practice these challenges and finding out
Uh-huh.
new moves and doing new things and trying something different. I would say by the time of 1986, I kind of like already did all the moves that we've seen from whatever they were doing in New York, more or less. Not saying that it had the same quality, but I could already do, my turtles, my one flare maybe,
Windmills. Yeah.
like my windmills were dope. I had my windmills quite early already.
Mm.
Um, which is probably also the reason why in these early days I already had so many shows. Because
Ah, yeah.
back in the days, if you knew how to do a windmill in early 1984, you were the king.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
I remember 85 when my partner Matthias, you met him also.
yeah.
He was the first, I guess, at least the first rumor in Uppsala. He can do windmill. And then, of course, the rumor was spreading all over the town that he can do the real windmill.
Yeah.
How many revolutions? Yeah, maybe five. Wow.
It
It's
took me it took me so long to do windmills. It took me so long to learn them that at the end I remember there was just this little whip that was missing. And for some reason it clicked, and right away I had windmills, and right away they were fast. So I
yeah.
could do them. I was like, I got them. Now I know what was wrong.
Yeah.
And I did them. Yo, I was so happy. You have no idea. You
No,
have
no,
no
no,
idea.
no.
I did from that moment on, man. I think I did windmills everywhere. In the classroom, in the schoolyard, in the shopping mall, wherever I went, I did windmills. It was
That's
crazy.
funny. Oh,
Yeah,
it's such a
yeah.
cool story because
But in
now
that,
it's really a base move. This is
yeah, no, absolutely. But back then, no, for real. I mean, even like in until late 80s, sometimes we went to certain jams. I remember this one time we went to a hip hop jam in Bremen. Well, that was in 87. And we went through the door and we could see, there were these two guys sitting there. They were looking at us and we were wearing tracksuits. They were looking at us. They were like, "Are you guys breakers?" We were like, "Yeah." And this guy was asking me like, "Do you know how to do windmill?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "So you must be good." So that was the
yeah.
reaction. Yeah, yeah, it was that was
Yeah,
the
it's fun.
benchmark, right? It
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
very
yeah. It was a
important
benchmark for
benchmark.
many years. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, that's
So
then
and
after
then
that it became the combination flare windmill. That was
yeah,
maybe the
or
next
or
benchmark.
or with me it was swipe
Yeah,
windmill, swipe windmill, head spin, swipe windmill, turtle
yeah,
windmill, turtle, all these combinations. That's true. How you go into a windmill, like swipe
yeah,
into standing up, swipe into a windmill. That was always a shocking move.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, you then became talented, and that was also my impression also here that when someone of your crewmates or the people that you hang around with, when they become too good, it also means that the others lose a little bit of interest to it
I'm not
somehow.
sure. I'm not sure. I think it goes both ways. There's always, like you will always shock somebody who goes like, "All right, no, this is it. I'm fed up. I
Yeah,
can't I can't I can't go on with this." And then there's other that are feeling challenged.
yeah,
I always felt challenged.
yeah.
Whenever somebody came up with the new move, I was just
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, I gotta go
That's
home."
why you are where you are today, I would say,
Yeah,
because
probably.
you always have that drive that I want to learn that.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
You see, I was always, no matter what I did, right? Whether it was kung fu, skating, whether it was playing football, playing soccer, or
yeah.
whatever. Funny enough, in in these sports, I was never like I didn't really care whether I was shooting goals or something. Yes, I was happy when I shot a goal, but for me, it was so much more about how it looked. So
Yeah.
when there was a World Cup and I saw the Brazilians playing, it looked so much better than when you saw the Germans playing. You see what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
I was amazed. Like when I watched basketball, Harlem Globetrotters came to our
yeah.
town. When I saw Harlem Globetrotters, I was like, basketball is my thing. But I was more about, I won't even say the entertainment side, but I will call it the quality of movement, the mastery behind it, and how it looks when somebody mastered something, to me was always something super interesting. And
Mhm.
I remember here at my house, across the street, on the house, they were fixing the roof. And the way they were fixing the roof, they were so precise with every movement they made, like putting the nails into the wood and, and
And
everything,
that you see,
everything,
yeah, yeah,
with the shingles and everything, that they put on and you see that and you go, yes, they know exactly what they're doing. And you find out there's rhythm to it or there's tact to it, So all these things become
I
important.
guess you have an eye for such small things. Yeah, yeah. But
And I
now
hate
it,
it. And I hate it in the movies, for instance, right? Like when special effects were getting bigger, with rigging and everything.
yeah,
So for instance, I remember my wife and I, we went to the movies in Paris and we watched Kill Bill. And when they tried to make Uma Thurman look like she could fight, I was like, no,
ah,
this is it. I don't want to watch this movie
yeah.
anymore. It's
But
over.
that, but then you must also have hated some of the movies that was in the 80s with breaking, and they speed it up just a little bit.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, they speed it up. Why?
Yeah, terrible.
It's yeah, yeah,
Terrible.
Well, anyway, but you started then with popping or robot, and then in these times when you say 86, 87, then it was almost only breaking then, because now you
Well,
do all styles.
yeah, see, so I was doing everything at the same time. You could put me in any club and I would hang with the disco dancers, with the whatever, like if it was a salsa club, I would dance salsa, right? Not that I was a good salsa dancer or something, but I would at least try things. Yeah. So whatever was new and hip, whatever was coming on, I at least tried it. Um, what was very important is that in 1986, my brother Speedy started dancing,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
and he was only into breaking. And then when I met Swift Rock, there was another aspect because Swift Rock also he was breaking. That's it. And so now I had
Okay, then of
I
course
had
it's easier to team up,
yeah,
and
and now I had these two partners, right? Now I had my
uh,
brother and Swift Rock, the guys that I mainly hung out with, and they weren't into popping, into lock-in, or into anything else. And so, like that became very much dominating. So automatically I practiced a lot more on my breaking than on anything else. And
uh,
that kind of like changed again. It kind of like changed again when I moved to New York for some time. Remember, you even visited me in New York. We met up this
yeah,
once.
that's yeah,
Yeah,
93,
yeah,
93, I think. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I was dancing with Get Original, and
yes,
one of the reasons was that Wiggles, Fable, and Adesela and them guys that they knew that they could throw me into some routines, and I could
yeah.
learn the popping and locking stuff as well, which I absolutely benefited from
Oh
when they
yeah.
did that.
So
Yeah.
that was maybe the turning point from the strictly breaking to do all styles
Again,
again.
yeah, yeah. So that was the point where, I mean, I got hired. I definitely got hired, and I was in the crew because of my breaking. But
Yeah.
yeah, one of the aspects was
You
that,
could
that
also
I
do the
could,
other
yeah,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I could fake it,
Yeah.
but that kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like sparked something in me again to concentrate on that more. But also because in New York, the only real active breaker that was left was Quick Step. There wasn't anybody else. So automatically there too, since now I had Wiggles, Adesla, Darren Hansen, who else? There was so many more poppers than breakers in New York at that
Yeah.
time.
And
That
dancing all styles more,
yeah,
but without, but not breaking, not
yeah,
b-boy.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's true. But now you mentioned your brother and also Swift. Um, then because when we met you the first time, it was only you and Swift in Battle Squad. From that, I mean, then of course you brought also Emilio and Maurizio into Battle Squad.
Okay,
But how come that your brother was not more involved? Because we, as you remember, we performed
yeah,
with him on Battle of the Year.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
of course.
he
That's
was,
right.
the guy that you throw in every crew. Later on, he performed also with, or he was also with Out of Control. But why not in Battle Squad?
So the idea of Battle Squad was in the beginning, and I wasn't part of this. Swift Rock is the founder with
Yeah.
Franklin from Switzerland. They were the founders of Battle Squad, and their idea was that they wanted to have two members from each country. So
Uh-huh.
therefore, it was Emilio and Maurizio from Italy. It was at first it was Franklin and Tackett from Switzerland, but then it was Franklin and Jay. And from Germany, it was Swift Rock and me. And then in France, there were Nabil and Laurent who were. And then later on, I think Xavier as well, when Nabil wasn't in it anymore. But you know that whole
That
Swiss
was
and
the
the French
idea.
thing, yeah,
Mm.
the Swiss and the French thing fell apart when we kind of like quit with Franklin from Switzerland. Yeah, so and
And which
from
years was
that
this?
was in 89, 1990, beginning of 1990.
And
Uh,
the Battle Squad as a group like this 222, what was
yeah.
that formed 89
No,
or was it?
when we were that was in 89, 80
Uh,
January or something, or even 88. I
uh,
think it was late 88 when Battle Squad was formed.
uh,
Yeah, and then 89, I became like January or February 89, I became part of it. Then soon after that, there was CH Fresh, the first CH Fresh in Switzerland. Uh, so Maurizio came to us in also 89. At an event in Troyes in France. That's also where Xavier joined, and so on. So,
oh yeah.
in the beginning, it was really like this two men per country idea.
Ah. And
Yeah,
that's
and
why your
then
brother fell out, so to say.
yeah, and Speedy was also he was 4 years younger. In the
Yeah.
beginning, when everything happened, he wasn't traveling yet. Speedy only really started traveling in, I would say, 91, 92. And even then, I mean, think about it, man. He was 17, 16,
Yeah.
17
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
old. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was still going to school and everything. And Swift and I, we were already professional dancers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, of course, the age difference comes in play
Yeah,
there. In those
yeah.
nowadays, it's no age difference, 4 years, but in that time, he's like you say, he's going to school and everything. So
Yeah, and then in 94, things changed. In
yeah,
94, Speedy became part of Battle Squad and Marcella as well,
yeah.
Emilio's wife.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah. But then Maurizio was out. The French
yeah.
guys weren't there anymore.
No,
And
no.
so
So
it
it
was a
was a
different crew.
constant change
Yeah.
in the group, so to say.
Yeah,
And but
but which crew doesn't, right? Which
no,
crew
no, I know,
doesn't?
I know, I know.
So
But
in
and before this battle squad was formed, uh, did you have any other crew name, or was
yeah,
there a
like
crew
my first bigger crew was Unique Rockers.
unit?
Unique
Unique
Rockers.
rockers.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We were Unique Rockers, and then we had another crew was called Keep Rockin' Crew, but that never really went anywhere. So, but we were Unique Rockers from 84 until, yeah, 89 until
Yeah,
Battle Squad
okay,
started.
okay.
Yeah, Sonny T was in it as well. Can2 was in it as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's funny. Now when you say it, I mean, Sonny, I haven't heard the name for 25 years, but yeah. And I can too, of course, I see on social media. So yeah, and he was then dancing at that time, or
Yeah, I mean, he was always doing graffiti, of course, like
yeah,
Sonny
yeah,
too. But
yeah,
yeah, they were both dancing. Yeah, I mean,
and
Sonny also,
yeah,
Sonny is still dancing.
yeah. And in that time, was it also like we had here in Sweden that the groups, the early crews from 84, 85, you should have graffiti writers in the crew. You should have a DJ or a rapper. It was more of a whole thing, hip hop community thing. Was that also a part of it, or it was
We
mainly the
we
dance?
we were all doing everything.
Yeah. So you have done more than just dancing. I mean, you
The
were maybe also into the graffiti and
the only thing we didn't do was DJing because we didn't have the money,
uh,
right? But even that we tried. Yeah, with our messed up record players and the
yeah,
few records that we had. So we tried it, but no, it never really worked out. But yeah, I rapped as well. I was making music. I was doing my thing. But yeah, of course. I mean, was doing graffiti. Man, I got busted 3 times until
ooh,
89. No, I think, yeah, 89 or 88 the last time with Sonny T together
yeah,
the last time. And that's when I said, look, it's over because all of a sudden it was getting expensive.
yeah,
The times before, people didn't really know graffiti. So when we got busted, they only asked us to
yeah,
clean the wall or
painted over.
to paint over exactly.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah.
easy. But by 88, it was getting
Harder.
dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Also
So
here.
we got busted and Sonny and I, we had to pay quite a fine. We were lucky that it still didn't go to the police, but we had to pay the fine for fixing things. And yeah, well, that was the last
Okay,
time, and
and
that's when I
then
quit.
yeah, yeah, but I remember that I seen you and Swift actually rapping on this television show on and German TV. So I mean, you've been into the rapping part
Yeah,
also,
but
but
that,
you have not released any record or so
oh
now.
no, I did with
Ah,
Blitzmob from Germany, yeah, a German rap with Blitzmob in '95. I released one track, but we were
okay.
like at a lot of hip hop jams. We also went on stage and we were rapping and we were emceeing. We were for some time, I don't know if you remember Cora, my girlfriend at the
Ah, that's
time.
right.
So
Ah, yeah.
Cora she was a female MC. She was always traveling. She was with us all the time and she was dope. So sometimes Swift and I we did background vocals and we we were the background dancers for Cora. Yeah.
Dancers and vocals. Yeah. Yeah, during the 90s, I guess now when you mention Cora, Thomas from Copenhagen also was there. So in that time, there was a lot of us old hip hop break dancers or b-boys becoming stage performance behind rappers. Also here in
I
Sweden, there
remember
was,
that at that
yeah,
even at that rap championship where we were performing together. You
yeah,
remember?
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
in 92.
Thomas was dancing
Yes.
for some artist there, yeah.
Basic element or not basic element? I don't know. I don't treble and bass. I think it was treble and bass. It's a
Something
Swedish,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the rapper in that group was also old b-boy.
Oh wow, okay.
So, but it's funny that I actually forgot about that Thomas was also on stage, not together with us, but on the same evening. I saw it on a clip that I digitalized just a
Uh,
month ago, and it's like, what, Thomas? Yeah, that's right. Thomas was also there. But
yeah.
it's interesting that you see that we will come back, or we can take it now. I mean, this 92 rap championships here in Stockholm, what do you remember from that?
The I think the most important thing I remember from that was that I had a conversation with Damon,
Hmm?
and while I was talking with Damon, I could never stand still. So I was doing some moves. And then this short dude from England came over and he was saying something in the likes of, "Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time." So he was just doing like a scuba hop kick into some split and he got up and he walked away. And that was Anthony from
Yeah.
London. And I was like, "What the hell was that?" And Damon was just laughing. He was like, "Man, this dude is such a show off." But that moment was the moment where I decided I wanted to learn how to lock.
Ah, interesting. So
Yeah.
it really affected also you
Oh yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we had him here as he's living in Stockholm now. So of course he's like a celebrity here that he brought locking. to Scandinavia, so to say. And it's interesting that you also got the like a spark from him.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. It was so dynamic, so quick, so
Yeah,
flashy,
yeah,
and at the same time he had this gentleman style, right?
yeah.
It looked so sharp, and again, the quality of movement was just there, and you could see it. And it was, how long was it? He did like maybe it was 5 seconds, six
Yeah.
seconds, but it was. I still see it in front of me, man. It was so nasty.
Really?
Yeah, so that was the moment. And then I found out, so I met Thomas, I started talking with Thomas. That night, man, there's so many people that I met for the first time. And if I think of, do you remember that so you called me and you were saying like, look, there's this competition and they call it hip hop competition, but it's not a hip hop competition at all. It's just a rap competition. So I think we should go there and we should show them what hip hop is about, because they have graffiti as well, but there's no dancing, no nothing. So at some point, I don't know if you remember, they asked us if we wanted to do a sound check. So we were like, yeah, okay. So we went on stage. They gave us microphones. We said, okay, 1, 2. That's okay. We've got enough. That's it. And then another dancer, no, another MC gave us the music for a show that night. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
e-
yeah.
we didn't
Yeah,
even
but
have we didn't even have our music.
no, I know it was from Dele. It's a producer here in Stockholm,
Uh,
Dele Cecconi. So, but he also, what I don't remember, also Throwdown was there. They also did a showcase
oh, they
that
did.
evening.
We haven't seen it.
That's so fun because they had the same evening they did also a performance.
I did not know.
No, and it's funny that we did not see them around background or so.
Right, right.
Because I just remember that
Yeah,
our
wait.
showcase was almost the last. They had gray overalls with shares. Do you remember? No.
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 But
But
I
anyway, what I remember from that part is that when we did our performance, and of course the power moves that you are famous for,
yeah.
all the windmills and the head spins, people in Stockholm they haven't seen that
Uh-huh.
because we have been so much into just down rocking.
Yeah.
So there was this the crowd in that stage went totally mad. Maybe you don't remember that, but that's
Of
what
course
I
I
remember.
remember.
That
Of
it
course I
was
remember. But at the same time, we also we went there, like they were on a roller coaster ride with us. Because I also remember, and you could see that on the video later on, that Swift and I, we had the skit where we were doing the slow motion walk forward
yeah,
from
yeah,
what we always did in shows. And also when we did that, because we did all these fast moves before and we went all wild, so all of a sudden everything slowed down. I remember that there was a moment where I couldn't even hear the music anymore more
yeah,
because people
because they
were
were so
screaming.
loud, the crowd.
They were screaming so much. I was like, what? Because of slow motion? Are they mad?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, like, so it was a great roller coaster ride for them. And we
Mm.
had our ways on how somehow the way the show was structured was quite well done.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun. It, but yeah, but we have met. We went a little bit further. Um, some people don't know how we got in contact. I think it's a very interesting story. A lot of people here in Sweden know about it, but um, it's like me and my partner, we went to New York, 88, 89, and
Yeah.
met then Quickstep.
Uh-huh.
And what I know that you and Swift went also about the same time.
No, later. We went in 91.
Oh, that was 91. That was your
Yeah.
first time
Yeah.
in New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But then it
Swift
was
Swift went Swift went to New York before, but he didn't see any dancer. I mean, he didn't meet any breaker.
okay. I thought it was earlier, but okay. Anyway, we went there 89
Yeah.
and two times and then met Quickstep. And then via Quickstep, then it was 91. I thought it was a little bit earlier, but via Quickstep, we got hold of you
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
because This
did
is,
not know that.
we went to Spring Jam.
Yeah,
I think it was
those,
92, right?
yeah, early
90,
92
early spring. It was in April 92.
in Frankfurt.
And why we came there and why we got hold of you, it's because of Quickstep.
I
And
didn't
we were
even know.
there 2.5 years earlier. It's funny that this is, via Quickstep in New York, we got hold of each other.
Yeah, that is mad. I did not know. I did not
And
know that
and,
was
and I
because of
just
that.
remember when we met you, it's like, oh, but you live in Kiel, in Eutin, in Kiel. Uh, it's so close to Copenhagen that we have not seen each other.
Yeah,
And because now you have been dancing 91, 92, you've been dancing so 6, 7, 8 years, and also us. But in those years, we never really had the view to look at Germany. And what we saw then in Spring Jam 92 is like all over Europe, like you also said about Battle Squad, two teammates from each country. You had many, all the countries are combined, and so many b-boys and so many hip-hoppers all over Europe. And here in Sweden, it's only Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, a little bit Finland, but it's so small if you compare it to Germany and
it's
to Europe.
what's a bit wild is there was a moment where Cantu and I, and that was in 89, where we hitchhiked. We hitchhiked from Kiel to, all the way up, like Odense, Esbjerg, and we wanted to get to Copenhagen, but we couldn't get that far because, we had no money and, just by auto
Only
stop,
hitchhike.
and we just didn't make it. If we would have made it, I'm sure in Copenhagen we would have found out. We heard
Yeah,
about the Thomas P. Heile Club. When you get into a town, you just need to go to. That was our scheme all the time, right? So,
yeah,
if we went into any town, we would go to the first McDonald's until you see the first guy walking in with Adidas Superstars or with
yeah,
Puma Suedes, and you knew that was either a graffiti writer, MC,
yeah,
DJ,
yeah.
or breaker, right? And we knew if we did that, everything would have been fine. But we didn't go that far.
Oh.
It didn't happen.
But interesting
And
that you didn't know that this whole contact came via Quickstep. It was such amazing for us to really see what was going on in Europe, because that Spring Jam, you remember, it was
oh yeah, yeah, clearly.
incredible. It's also out on YouTube, and all these dancers from all over Europe uh, is there.
Ah, it was mainly Germans.
Yeah, yeah, you're
It was mainly Germans
yes,
and
Swiss.
Switzerland, like
Yeah,
Crazy Legs, Crazy Force.
yeah,
Crazy Force was
yeah.
there.
Actually, there was no French guys.
No, and Emilio and Marcella, they were there.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
wasn't anybody from
Now
Belgium.
now you're right. It's more of a German thing.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, 500 b-boys or something. For us, it was crazy that so many people there.
Uh, that was an
Um,
interesting jam.
yeah,
It was it
also
was
that
also
we
for me it was really good to meet Jerka,
yeah.
who was with you at that time. Was amazing. It was great, man. It was really, really cool.
Mm.
Really cool. So for us, it was like, yeah, finally we have some context to the Scandinavians. That was very
Yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah,
And that
yeah. Because then
that
in
whole
that,
year, but that whole year became a vital Scandinavian German year then for me as well, because only 2 months later, Matthias invited me to Uppsala.
mm,
We hung out.
yeah,
I met the rest of Throwdown Breakers, I remember.
yeah,
Yeah, we hung out there for a little bit, and then late in 92, remember the big Uppsala jam where everybody came out
yes,
with Second to None, Maurizio, everybody came up there.
yeah.
So that was very,
It's
very,
also a
very important.
huge crowd also from Germany that was coming with a bus.
Yeah.
So maybe some of your other friends, like I don't know which graffiti writers and such, that also came to that jam. But
Yeah.
of course, that's a quite legendary milestone in Sweden. This Uppsala hip hop jam
And that
international.
was think about it, that was all that same year.
Yeah. Now when I think about it, it's so many things happened that year that you came here so many times. And I don't remember. Did you fly or did
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
No, I took the first time that I came, I took the train.
Yeah.
I took the train all the way up to Uppsala.
Yeah. That's and that leads us into all these years that become then from 92 maybe until now you are like a traveling ambassador for hip hop
Yeah, yeah, you could say so.
because in the next years, the next 10 years after 92, we have met each other in Germany, in France. It's just that you were always there, it seemed to. You came to Malmö also some years later.
Right.
You've been traveling around for the most bigger events that was.
Yeah, all the time. All
Yeah.
the time. Yeah. But also, I mean, I wanted to, even, if I made any money, I already knew into what travel I'm going to put the money
Ah,
to go even further,
yeah, yeah.
to
And
plan the
was
next
that
trip.
what that's something that differentiated you from Swift in that time? Because many of those things you went alone. Or what do you?
Ah, uh, I don't know why. I can't really say why. I don't know if like if I was driven differently, because I seem to remember as if I did most of the trips with Swift together. But
Mm,
you were right. Lots of them I did by myself. But
mm,
Swift also, he did trips by himself. Like when he went
ah,
to Switzerland,
mm,
and met Franklin and them guys, he was by himself.
mm,
So
oh
I
yeah,
can't say. Can't
yeah.
say.
And then you also mentioned that you lived in New York for a while. That
Yeah.
was also by yourself then
Yeah.
from Germany, so to say.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's true.
and how
That's
come that
true.
you did not stay longer in New York? How long time were you there?
I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't have a green card or anything, and
Okay.
most of the money that I made was by dancing on the street.
Yeah.
So I was busking, I was hitting, with the United Street artists, mainly with Clown, Quickstep, and Breeze Team,
Mm,
which was J Day and Nice in the days. And that's it. And after a while, it was getting a bit scary as well. Yeah, and
mm,
then we, like when we did theater shows, the main shows we did were in Paris, in France.
yeah, yeah.
And then it was the French that were always calling me up, asking me for more jobs. Well,
Oh,
not asking me, they gave me
yeah,
more jobs. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they asked me if I could come over, from teaching to doing shows to
Yeah,
do
do you
whatever.
remember what years that was? I mean,
That
because
was,
I know I've seen the Solo for Two. That's many years later in
yeah.
Paris. But when did it happen? So to
No, the
say
first
that.
the first time we performed in Paris with Get Original was in January 1993.
Mm,
Yeah, and I remember there was a little meeting of different um, theater directors after our performance where they were talking with us
mm,
in the back of the theater. And all these guys, I mean, I know all their names still. All these guys, they were like the biggest heads in contemporary dance in France at
mm,
that time. And they kind of like, they made it possible that crews in France, from breakers to hip hop dancers to poppers or whoever, they kind of like had a future in the theater world in France. And then it started blowing up from that moment on. So 93 was the very first beginning.
mm,
They even organized bus journeys to hip hop jams, like
oh,
to Charleroi in Belgium. There was a big competition. So like Actual Force went there and some other
oh,
dancers. So they all went there. I remember that it was mainly a rap concert as well, and they called it rap dance competition, which was a little bit funny, but doesn't matter. Like it
oh,
was it was a big jam and lots of people were there. that's how Swift Rock then finally met the French, because I met them before in '93, like I said,
Yeah.
through Get Original. And then that summer already, I spent the whole summer in Paris, and I got more and more jobs coming from France at that time. And when I realized that the theater world in France is much better organized than in New York or anywhere else in the
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
that's when I kind of like pushed Swift into the direction as well, where I said like, look, let's do more theater shows. Let's try to delve more into that direction because it gives us a certain freedom. It's like whenever we were doing jobs for other people, where some choreographers or some directors were in the back and they were just telling you, look, all we want is that you guys do a little bit of a robot and then you spin on your head. You know, like you don't really practice for that for 20 years of your life. You know what I mean?
No.
You want to do
You
more.
want to develop it.
Yeah, you want to express yourself more
Yeah.
freely into a direction that you want to.
Yeah.
And so from that moment on, when I was with Get Original, I was delving more and more into direction theater. And that's why, like, then there was a moment where Swift Rock and where we were dancing for G-Star in Amsterdam. G-Star is a brand from Amsterdam, and we went from fair to fair for Interjeans and for the Sam in Paris. And in the year '96, Swift, he ripped his hamstring. And he really couldn't dance for like the next, I don't know, like almost 1.5 years. It was that bad.
Oh yeah.
And so that's when he kind of like he quit. You know, on top of it, I remember that we went to Japan too in '96, and then he messed up a vertebrae on the flight already, and then things just turned so bad that Swift said, "Look, man, I'm gonna open up a shop, you know,
Okay.
I can't do this anymore." And that's when I was like, oh, wow, okay, so let's see. And that's when I really decided, that's when I really decided that I wanted to start my own theater company and tour the world with that. And that's when I kind of like educated Vartan and Amigo to do shows from Flying Steps.
Yeah.
So I took them under my wing. And it was with my ex-wife, Jazzy, and we called it the Storm and Jazzy Project. And with that, we toured from '96 till 2000. And then in 2000, Flying Steps, they said that they wanted to do their own thing. And my ex-wife, she wanted to do more musicals. And that's where I developed Solo for Two. So I went on a solo thing. Plus, now I didn't have that much responsibility anymore because having a dance company kind of like puts you in a puts you in that trap where now you are responsible for all the dancers in your team. You have to get enough shows so that everybody's making enough money.
Yeah.
Then at the same time, you have to drag them to practice.
Yeah.
You have to stay competitive in that field. You have to come up with new shows, like all these things. And it was so much stress, man.
Yeah.
You have no idea. So
You
I kind of
cannot concentrate on your own dancing.
Yeah. And I was kind of like relieved when my solo turned out so well. It was a great surprise. I was super scared. You have no idea, going on stage for half an hour by myself, doing a solo was hardcore, but it was very, very successful. Of course, also because I had a good management. So Dirk Correll is his name. He's in France, German living in France, expat for that. He's been managing me after that. He's been managing me for almost 10 years, and we had the greatest times touring the world. So it was really, really great. Yeah, and that was that. And then we kind of like we juggled ourselves from project to project. So now I didn't have a dance company anymore, but it was more like we went to Brazil and we worked with Discípulos do Ritmo in Brazil. We went to the Ivory Coast and we worked with dancers there. And then we went to Vietnam and we worked with Big Toe in Vietnam and so on. And so we had all these projects going on with other crews. And then after we left them with the choreography, they could move on. Partly I was part of the piece, partly not.
And that was the kickoff for that was this Solo for Two that you did. and
No,
then
I would still say the kickoff was Get Original. It was
yeah,
really Get
yeah,
Original.
yeah,
I
of
kept,
course, yeah,
of course, I kept that formula somehow. And what I will never forget is how much we were fighting in New York. Because in New York at that time, if you were a popper, locker, or a breaker,
yeah, of
you were
course.
you
There
were
was
getting no,
no stage.
you were getting humiliated all the time. Whether you were going into clubs or wherever, people were laughing at you. You know, they kind of like said hip hop went on. You know, you guys are still spinning on your head. What are you doing? They were laughing at us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were working so hard. And funny enough, I have until today, I have the feeling that New Yorkers always somehow they were always the ones that wanted to have a say about what's hip and what's good and what not. And
Mm.
the rest of the world, what we were doing from breaking to locking and popping kind of like manifested itself culturally, where New York, where it came from. When you look at breaking and everything, it's now it's mainly known for a place in history, which is almost sad, but at the same time, I'm always happy when I'm going to New York and I meet some old schoolers and I can talk to them and they are telling me about how it was back in the days and so on and how it all
Yeah,
started. So,
yeah, it's not easy to be the ground zero, so to say, for this culture. It's because you it's hard to live up to the legacy of the town, of the city
yeah.
of New York, because you have so much history. And but yeah, it's a contradictory thoughts that it's from that those boroughs in New York, it really spread it to this worldwide
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah. What
Uh,
I also thought was funny is that then there was a moment where people were saying like, "Oh, you know, Battle Squad, that's like the Euro style." They called it the Euro style, and it made us upset. We
mm.
were like, "Why do you call this Euro style? Like, are you mad?" It's like all we did, we were copying, you know, we were like every time when we found a new move or, you know, like we created that term, you know, to for the gratitude of it, right? And we always like if something was fresh, we always said like, "Oh, this looks Bronx." You know,
Ah,
because we wanted to keep that Bronx heritage. We wanted to
yeah,
keep it up there. That was the ideal, right? So
yeah.
whenever we created something, it had to come from the foundation. So it was a cumulative process coming from the foundation, going into a direction where at least we still thought like, okay, when we do this and we change it a little bit more, then yes, in the
Mm.
Bronx, we will get respect for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we kept these ideals with us at all times. So when people were saying like it's the
Yeah,
Euro style, we were like, what do you mean? We look European? It looks European or what? What we
yeah.
try to do is like all our life we've been trying to do
But
this and
yeah,
make it look Bronx, you know?
it creates so many thoughts in my mind here because Euro style. Because I talked also to King B from London, and you
Yeah,
know in that earlier time, I mean maybe 86, he was like the main breaker in London, and in maybe the power at least from himself, you know, that style was more advanced somehow than the American styles. So maybe not, but it's like already back then it push is, you know, the European had maybe pushed it, you know, to another level. And I
yeah,
think you guys and also the French, you know, the whole Europe pushed the whole scene. And you also saw it in this. I remember, maybe you saw it earlier, but I saw that in the Spring Jam '92 because Wiggles and Crazy Legs came there. And they were all surprised that it was just so many things going on in Europe. And
absolutely.
and
Yeah, it was Fable, Wiggles, and Legs, remember? At
yeah, yeah,
Springdale.
yeah. And yeah, they were really shocked. Like, oh, they were
Yeah,
not.
you
They
when
didn't
we
want to
were
enter the circle almost.
when we were going to New York, see, that was the thing, right? I think a lot of people don't know this. I know that Swift and I that we were mainly credited for bringing breaking back in the world even
Yeah.
at some points, and a lot of people get that wrong and they think that it was due to the fact that we were such good breakers. I would say that until like 91, 92, we were probably like average breakers. Yeah, but what made it special was that we showed up at all these different hip hop jams all over Europe, and wherever we went, Swift Rock took a VHS with him, and when he saw somebody with the camera, he said, like, look, I'm going to give you this tape with breakers from all over Europe, from, you know, like from all the jams, all the footage is on here. If you make me a copy of what you film here tonight, I'm going to give you this, but you have to promise me you're going to send me a tape. And like that, his video, like the footage, you know, so he had the biggest library at home, and the library was just getting so big. I remember sometimes it took days, you know, for making a video for the next jam. Just so like, okay, let's take some, these guys are going to be there. They asked me for a cassette so that we had things ready. And also at the same time, so many people were always asking us, well, where do you get your inspiration from? Like, how comes you guys have so many moves? You know, we were like, look, yeah, here are the tapes. These are the guys. This is the inspiration. There you go, you know? And we never held back with that, because we realized very early already, in Germany already, we realized how many people we resurrected, or we dragged out of their retirement, and how many people restarted or even started at that particular moment when they saw what was going on in Germany, speak in Europe at that time. And when we did that with Quick in New York, the first time Quick popped in the tape in the VCR, we couldn't see nothing, because remember, in New York they had NTSC and we had PAL, right? So Quick had to bring it, he had to take the tape, he had to take it to an electronics store, whatever,
and
have it transferred. But when he transferred it and he saw what was on the tape, I remember that Wiggles and everybody, they were like, because they all saw it, right, at some point. And then they were like, that was in Germany now? And we were like, yeah. Really? That's not 84, 85? We were like, no. And I thought that they meant from the quality of movement, you know, from the from the level of moves they've seen, that it was 84, 85. I was like, no, is it that bad? You know, that you think it's 84, 85? And they were like, no. All these people show up and everybody's dancing. They couldn't believe it. Yeah, there's also Damon was on the tape. They never seen Damon before. Yeah, not really. They only, like, Fable saw Damon. I don't know if you know that story, yeah. But they saw Damon. I think even Anthony and some other, like some of the Out of Control stuff, you know, like we put everything on that tape just to show people, look.
Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting story. Both that Swift changed cassettes, and also that you showed it now to New York guys.
Yeah. So but that really created that network.
Yeah.
So we created networking before that was a thing, you know.
Yeah, before internet. No, but and then also this interesting. I think it's interesting that the French scene, that they were, the culture that they had, to provide culture, not only hip hop, that made a special part for the dance scene, because like you said, in New York, yeah, maybe you can do something there because it's the origin of hip hop, but nowhere else in the world except Paris could maybe something like that be possible, to do something on stages in that time. And
Well,
84, 94, 95, after that,
Yeah.
it spread it out. I remember that Steen, Out of Control in Copenhagen, what can it be, 97, 98? They also brought it into the bigger or more established scenes.
Yeah, it's true.
And now it's, of course, there are sometimes in Sweden here we have Dansens Hus, it's like the house of dance. And of course you can see street dance events or street dance parts there.
Yeah, sure. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Now it's everywhere. I mean, there's lots of contemporary dance companies today
Yes.
that also that work with a lot of dancers that are coming from our realms.
But it maybe the origin from that is actually the culture scene in Paris or in France.
Well, yeah, I mean, they kind of like structured it first.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with Get Original was probably the first hip hop dance company, purely hip hop. And
Mm.
what I liked about that, and that's also, it was always part of my philosophy. We had the feeling that we deserved to be on these stages.
Yes.
We wanted to be on these stages. And in France, when we were in France, I remember there were times where some theater directors, they were trying to tell us, look, now that you are on this stage, you have to do something different.
Mm.
And I always refused. I said, no, there's a reason why we're on here, and this is our product. This is our thing. We control the crowd. This is our audience, I said, and we know how to deal with our audience. This is our church now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that we can conduct the meaning, yeah.
As you know, I mean, if you look at everything in hip hop, right? We call we call him the MC, the master of ceremony, right? We have our DJs, we have, we have the dancers, everything we have there is built on ritual. It is
Mm.
really built on ritual. And it's been tested so many times in ritual,
Yeah.
right? And so we knew exactly what we were doing because we tested it so many times.
Mm.
And therefore, I have no doubt that that is the reason why it blew up like that.
Yeah, why it is so big like it is. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because now it's really like a main platform. Is the whole hip hop scene is so big
And
all over the world.
funny enough, there's other organizations outside hip hop organizations sometimes that just want to organize. Oh yeah, let's have a battle of this and that,
Yes.
and then you watch it or then you see or you hear about it and you go like, oh my God, what are they doing?
Uh,
Because they don't have a clue. They don't understand. They don't understand what they need to do. It's like they think it's so easy.
uh,
No, but this
we
is
we
our
we
formula.
yeah, we will come back to that because we will soon touch the subject of Olympics.
Oh,
But
okay.
before that, in those times, I mean, during the whole 90s and maybe late 80s for you, uh, all those fellow crews like Basel City Attack and
Right.
Actual Force, and I don't know who else was in Europe. Was there really like competition? Did you go there and really like, hmm, let's show off? Or were it a friendly mentality between the countries and between the different crews?
Um, I can give you my part about
Mm,
this. So, like this, it's a subjective opinion, of course, at the end of the day. I'm sure that there was always some sort of animosity somewhere, right? But
mm,
Swift Rock and we were mostly concerned with connecting people and pushing this further,
mm.
coming in peace.
Ah,
Yeah, we did not see much competition. We saw friendship and we saw a passion that we all shared together. That's what we saw. Um, what happened because of, let's just say, because of certain battles. If you
mm,
battled somebody, then a lot of times people took it very personal, and all of a sudden they hated you. So
mm.
at some moment, I realized, Swift, look, like let's stay friends with these guys. So let's just form a circle, we cipher, and then at some point, like whatever, but let's not make it look like as if we want to destroy them. Yeah. So that was something that became very important for us so that we have fun all together and
Yeah,
that nobody feels humiliated, even though that's the whole point in the battle sometimes, right? But I think the same way as you can have an argument with somebody, um, instead of having an argument, a lot of times it's better that you rather educate the person that you're talking with, and then
mm,
you come to conclusions together, and you
yeah,
find out you find out what's better for
yeah.
life and what not. And that's just how we went on with most of it. Trouble was that after the first battle of the year, when we were with Emilio and Maurizio, we were in the finals with TDB, another crew from Berlin, and they were very good friends of ours.
Yeah.
But there was a moment where Kai Eickermann, also a friend of mine, where I think he wanted to he wanted to come and he wanted to, I don't know, give me a hug and say like, all right, it's over, you guys won. But I
Yeah.
was already going out and I was already in top rock mode and I already had in mind what I was going to do next. So
So,
I didn't even acknowledge it at that, you know, like I just wanted to continue dancing. And he had the feeling like, oh, okay, now these guys, they really want to destroy us. All right.
ah,
And so he took it personal like that. And then for a minute, you know, there was tension between
yeah,
us. And we were
yeah,
really good friends. So it took a while until we actually
yeah,
talked about it. And I said, like, look, man, hey, it was nothing like that. Trust me, I wouldn't, you know? So we felt a bit stupid about that. And we kind of like realized that's not why we're doing this. And then the year after, the same thing kind of happened with Second to None and Maurizio
mm,
when we battled them, and we were always good friends with Second to None, but somehow that kind of like, I don't know, it was a thorn in their
yeah,
eye.
yeah, yeah.
But you see,
Yeah, it should stay on the dance floor.
yeah, and therefore also, I mean, this is one of the reasons why after 91, Swift Rock and I, we already said, look, we don't want to battle at Battle of the Year anymore. We don't want to do this anymore. We're in it for something else. This is not why we're doing this. If other crews want to do it, fine, but that
Ah,
was
yeah.
not really, it was not
But you
really
did it
our thing.
92, though.
In 92, we went again, but the only reason for that was that we arrived at Battle of the Year. And remember, remember Speedy was dancing with you guys, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but because beforehand we already told Speedy that we weren't participating. We were not
Ah,
going to participate. Emilio
ah,
had some other things to do, and then we said, "All right, no, we're not going to do this." So Speedy was like, "Yeah, but I want to battle, so
okay.
I'm going to
That's
join with the Swedish." And then when Swift and I arrived, we spoke to two of the judges, and they were telling us, "Oh, we already know who's going to win." And we were like, "Are you guys mad?" It's like, how can you do this? It's like, and you guys are judges. It's like, yeah, but come on, you know, we already know who's going to win. And we were so upset that we were like, no, no, no. Look, now we participate
yeah.
just for that. I want to
Just
see
to
how,
show that.
yeah, I want to see what they think or how they
Mm.
doing and how they manage this now, you know? And yeah, we participated, we won. I think if the battle would have just happened if it was just lasting 5 more minutes, we would have been dead and they would have
Who
destroyed us.
was it
But
against? Was it
it
against
was,
Second to
yeah,
None?
it
Or
was against Second to None,
no?
always rocking tough, and Maurizio. Yeah,
Ah, yeah.
it was 2 against 8, and we really had to
No.
household with our energy and everything. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
so and that was the time, you know, that was the last time that I was participating at Battle of the Year. Guess what? The same guys that were in the jury that were saying that Second to None was going to win were the same guys that told us after that it's unfair that we are participating at Battle of the Year because we were professional and
Ah,
nobody else is. Because we were making a living and we weren't doing anything else. So it's unfair that these professional guys were dancing
compete
against,
against others.
yeah,
Yeah.
competing against the hobby breakers,
Ah,
basically.
yeah. But I understand your point there that uh, making all these battles makes you maybe unfriendly to other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, it
So of
becomes
course,
hostile. It becomes
i-
hostile.
is it worth it
So,
or not? So I guess that's a good reason to not do it. I mean,
yeah.
huh?
And so also, you know, like, so when we met other crews,
Yeah,
you know, like with Crazy Force, we became friends right away. With Actual Force, we
yeah,
became friends, you know? Like
yeah.
it wasn't like that. And even if there were battles in jams, it was
Mm.
never, like I said, it was never like we're going to destroy you guys.
Uh, uh,
Except if somebody came to us, and they were cocky and they were stupid and they were
Yeah, of
weird.
course.
We
Then
were
you
like,
wanna,
yeah,
yeah,
that's something else.
yeah. But uh, in those times here also, because you started um 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 how was you said 93 you started again with some popping and maybe some locking that you saw also here then from Anthony and so on. But was it always important from that on to remain to those three different styles? Or, I mean, for the solo for two, that's 10 years later than about.
Right.
Then you do all styles. Did you consider them equal for you personally? Or was it always like breaking was your main dance?
Um, so from 86 to 92, 93, breaking definitely was my main dance.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But then when I was in Get Original from 92
Yeah.
on, then popping caught up.
Mm.
And then as well in 92, when I saw Anthony, and then I had the chance to be in Get Original, I wanted to learn every locking choreography there was in Get Original. I wouldn't say that it took the place of breaking or popping, but I was very, very much interested in it.
Mm.
Very much interested. Plus,
And
there was
later
so
on,
much.
later on, I mean, from maybe 98, 99, 2000, it also evolved the house movement.
Yeah,
What,
but I was house dancing also in the clubs in New York when I went out and stuff. Of course, I copied some steps and I combined it with top rocks and everything. You even see it like in old Battle Squad shows that we combined
yeah,
it with a little bit of house here and there, right?
yeah, like New Jack Swing.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But I was never. You could never say that I was a house dancer.
no.
I never got into it like that. No.
So
No, but for
now,
popping, I would I
mm,
would say I would say also, like from 95 I had some severe injuries,
mm,
and those injuries, like I can't stand still, right? So if I can't spin on my head, well, what am I going to do? So I'm still going to practice. I'm just practicing some other stuff.
yeah,
So I think there was a moment, when I aged, then popping kind of like became more and more important also for the healing aspects in popping, because
yeah,
it's really good for your body when you think about the isolating movements and the way
yeah.
you use your muscles and everything. So
Feel
it's
your body. Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why I'm still dancing until this day.
Yeah, that you find your way to control your body or and to
Yeah, yeah,
I
to heal
understand that.
myself and also
Yeah.
to know my capability and know
For
when it's time to take it easy.
yeah. And next thing I'm thinking of is that if we take that as like a chapter here, your judging and your judging system and all this, that
Mhm.
even if you were not competing in battle of the year, you always were involved
Right.
in competition.
Yeah.
And when did you see that there needed like a system for this?
Oh,
Did it
remember, I
come?
was just I was just telling you that in 92 we spoke to the judges and they were saying things like that. So
Yeah.
even there already there was this urge where we realized like, look, man, if we don't get this organized, this is not going anywhere. There's no consistency, there's no transparency, there's nothing. You don't even, the judges don't have the knowledge, the judges don't even have the mind. Their cognitive process isn't even there. They are so biased that they say before the competitions, they already tell you who's going to win. Come on, So at that time already, I kind of like thought it was important to get that organized, to create a better platform for everybody that still wants to compete, or for everybody that sees that as something that could be developed. And so I was working with Thomas Hagenreuter from that moment on for a long time. 93, Also, we tried a funny judging system for Battle of the Year, which didn't really work out. We had popping as one of the aspects. And now in 93, because second to none didn't have any popper, this is where we found out how bad it is if you're coming up with a system that dictates what you have to do. You know what I mean? So if you have some like you have to do it, otherwise it stays empty and it's void, and that means you have a zero. So you're not going to get any scores for that or whatever. So you dictate people what you have to do, and that's not good. That's not what we wanted. We realized that that was a big mistake. So from these mistakes, we learned, we moved on, we tried other things, we moved on, and kind of like we refined the whole thing until the moment where I kind of I developed an entire teaching method based on I always said like the body, mind, and the soul, just to have a good model in your mind, an easy model, that works in 3 ways, because it's best for your mind to work with threes. I don't know if you know about that, like with mnemonics and stuff, memory technique.
Yeah.
And therefore, I developed out of that, then that too. I mean, there's so many, but what I always say is like you have the spectrum of everything there is in a performance, right? So now imagine you have the entire spectrum, and you can look at it as a color spectrum, RGB, red, green, blue. So you look at that, and now you look, instead of looking at the 3 different colors, you look at the mind, body, and soul, or you look at it as in physical qualities, artistic qualities, and interpretive qualities. And those are the 3. And with these 3, you could describe anything there is in performance. And like that, in the judging system that we used then later on, or that we came up with, the judging system, we used 3 faders, so you can make a gradual decision. A gradual decision saying like you won a little bit, you won a little bit more, you won all the way in that category, and or less and stuff. And they kind of like they cancel each other out if you drag it far into the field and stuff. So, and that was the judging system that we created. Yeah.
And now you say was it you together with Thomas, or who else was involved?
No. Well, that was at a way later moment. No, for Battle of the Year, there was a moment that we called the change of direction, and that was in the early 2000s. And that's when Crazy from Crazy Force crew, my brother Speedy, Mode 2 was involved in that as well. Thomas and myself, we met up a couple of times where Thomas even, from 2002 on, I spent most of my time in Paris because Debbie is from Paris. So Thomas came to Paris, and we hung out in Mode's apartment and his atelier at that time for days and days, and we figured out how we were going to do this.
Okay.
And then Crazy programmed it. Back then it was a simple Excel sheet, Yeah, but that also, and it was for Battle of the Year. So now the difference with Battle of the Year is that Battle of the Year, remember, it was showcases first, and then you go into battles. So it was rather a matrix on how you value the showcase.
Yeah.
That was for Battle of the Year. And then, like I said, I developed a methodology for teaching, so for education, a didactic methodology that I used in order to analyze my students, but also to analyze myself. And that was built on these 3 categories.
So that is used also in that. And and this is also what you teach them to teachers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And what do you see this? And then this is also then transferred to the solo category, like Red Bull,
whether it's solo or not, it doesn't really matter, because performance is performance, right? So once one side is doing that thing, the other side is doing that thing, and then you weigh out.
But it
based
was
on
used
direct comparison.
also. It was used also as a judgment system for BC1, for instance, or
no, they never used it at BC1.
Okay.
They never used it at BC1. I wish they would, because it would
Okay.
make it more transparent. But if you go to the website and8,
Yeah.
and8.dance, you see all the competitions where the judging system has been used, and where we
Okay.
collect all the statistics. And when you look at the statistics, it's really interesting
Ah,
because it speaks to you right away, right? You see the imbalance, and everybody that is looking at the imbalance, you can see right away, like, okay, this guy was more creative,
yeah,
that
yeah,
guy was cleaner in execution or whatever, because like the
yeah,
physical quality fader was more in favor for him, and so on. So for musicality and composition, you
yeah.
see like the last fader in
And
temporary
you got
quality.
also feedbacks from dancers that they feel it's right.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Of course. And it's very intuitive as well, right? It's
yeah,
not like, see, and this is the crazy part, right? If it wasn't for, because the people before it went to the Olympics, the ones that pushed it the most was DJ Renegade and myself.
yeah.
Yeah, we were part of a group. Um, there was a competition series. It was called the Undisputed Series. In that series, it was like, let's say it was the biggest 12 to 16 one-on-one competitions in the world. Red Bull BC1 was part of it. Battle of the Year, R16, UK Championships, Cross
IB,
Ones. Yeah,
IB.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
IBE, Cross Ones Freestyle Session, and so on. So all these competitions were part of this series. We had a meeting in Berlin, and they decided that I was the head judge, basically the the person that is taking care of the group of judges. We came together. We were 10, 12 people in the beginning, and then we became less and less and less with time. And at the end, it was only DJ Renegade and I who still kind of like, I remember still until this day, I remember how we were on the phone together, and we were saying like, should we still continue? Should we still do this?
Uh,
And we realized how important it was, so we continued.
yeah.
Yeah, we continued our research, we continued our thing, and then the programmer, Dominic from End8, from Austria, he asked me one day, he's like, look, I would like to, come up with a judging system. How is it supposed to look like? And I was teaching workshops at that event where he asked me, and I told him right away, because I had everything on paper already, look, this is the spectrum, and like, so you do 3 faders,
Yeah.
and this is this, this is this, this is that. And he's like, all right, let's go. And then I think 2 weeks or like a month later, he had like the prototype ready already.
Yeah. Ah. And what during which years are this?
That was in, if I'm not lying, it should have been in 2013.
Yeah,
That was in
okay. And then
2013.
of course
So
in that time you had no idea that it will become a Olympic
no, no,
part.
no. So also from 2013, 14, we tried to tell Red Bull how important it was to
Yeah.
use the system, but they kind of like they had a bad experience with another system, and they said never a computer system again.
Okay. So yeah.
So we had our time, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
so we're still at that. But then, like most of the other competitions today, the bigger competitions,
Yeah. And
also undisputed, they are all using the system.
but now when we talk about competitions, I had a discussion with that with actually not DJ Renegade. I mean we say original Renegade
Yeah,
Alex
I know
in
him. I
Malmö.
know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and um, to put the whole uh, culture on stage. What do you think of that? Because I mean, also back in the days when we were making the competition, like you mentioned, 91, 92, maybe until 90, almost like 95, Battle of the Year, it was on the floor. It was not on a stage. It was like a circle. Um, and then you had like a battle or a competition, but it's in the circle. But then now it's moved up on stages everywhere. And then you have an audience who sits and look, and you have the participants who's dancing. It's not really like we grown up in the 80s. Then everybody was dancing. Then of course there was a circle with a battle maybe. And it has become another type of culture. At least in those
I
bigger
mean,
competitions.
you know how they say the only constant there is change, right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day. But the way I look at it is even in 83, in 84, we were doing shows
Yeah.
and we would have used any kind of stage, no matter where. If
Yeah.
people were pointing at something, as
Yeah.
long as they would play our music, as long as they play our music and we had a good surface that we could dance on, it was fine.
Yeah.
But we danced on the beach, we danced in grass, we danced in hallways, we danced in churches, in clubs,
Yeah.
on the sidewalk, in shopping malls. We danced wherever we could. Even if like today still, if I go in a shop and I try clothes on, I dance in the dressing room. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
and that's why it is a lifestyle. And I think that no matter what stage we are taking, no matter what stage we are taking, the importance in it is rather, are you taking the culture with you? Are you representing the culture, or is is this just a frame around something like now we're looking at something like it's in a zoo? You know, is it tamed? Is it tamed down and can't it break out? You know, as long as it's represented the same way as it's grown within its cultural setting, I think it's fine and that there's no problem. Yeah. So now, even when you look at movies or documentaries that were made about break-in and pop-in and whatever, you know that it's never the full story. It's
No.
never the full
No.
story,
No. There is so much
right?
behind that we just cut
So
away.
there will always you could say about any format there is, you would never be
Yeah.
able to show the full
Everything.
thing,
No.
and there will always be something. Even me, right? I'm very skeptical about most of the things that are happening, and I constantly think about how can we make this better.
Mm.
Yeah.
No.
So funny enough, the I think the biggest strength that we have
Yeah.
is
That is.
that we can go everywhere. We
Yeah.
can go everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, it is not supposed to be on a stage. It's not supposed to be only in on the dance floor. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be only on the street. It can be everywhere. You're right.
Look,
It's
look, look at any other, you know, like even other dance disciplines, right? When you look at ballet, it's clearly made for theater, right?
yeah, yeah.
So it's like most of the ballet dancers, they wouldn't even have the idea to go on the street and do street shows or go in a
No,
club and dance ballet in a club. They wouldn't get that idea,
no,
right? But for us,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, you could shoot us on the moon. We would dance. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's uh, it's
wherever we go,
interesting. It's interesting to combine to compare it, like you say, with ballet, or if you take a really like a club dance that been the last 10 years, like raga or dance hall. It's on the in the club, but yeah, does it really fit in a theater? Maybe not. You know, it's but with
maybe maybe
our
maybe maybe not yet. We don't know, right? I mean,
no,
within
no,
I could think of certain concepts of how it would work in a theater. I
mhm,
cannot tell you for sure, of course, you know, but with the theater work that I'm doing, you know, where it's not it doesn't necessarily have to have a storyline or narrative or
no,
something. So using these concepts that they do, I would also, even with Raga and whatever it is, as long
yeah,
as you keep things authentic,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? You just put it on a certain pedestal
oh,
there
yeah,
in a theater, and people will look at it with different eyes, right?
yeah,
That's the whole thing about it. But when you look at other sports, whatever it is, there's always something, you know, like that is so rigor about the setting it has to have, and we don't have that.
no,
We don't have that. There are, of course, there is a setting that might be perfect, and I'm looking at an arena. It should be an arena that is rather formed like a circle, you know,
Yeah.
because of the cipher that we have,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like all these
Yeah.
things. And then of course, you know, it depends on the DJ the most, what the DJ is playing. He's the most
Yeah.
important person there because
Yeah.
everything is based on the foundation of what the DJ is playing. So there are certain things
Yeah. Now we
that
talk
count.
about that because that was maybe not my next question, but that's one thing that I want to touch, the subject of music. Because now, especially when people load up music to YouTube, you have restrictions and this and that.
Yeah,
But with the music that nowadays dancers popping music or b-boy music, it's only designed for that type of dance. It's not really to listen to, and it's also not uh, on social media or on YouTube. You're allowed to use it. So does that affect, what do you think, has it affected the dance?
of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's probably, you know, like from the thousands of songs that are out there, you know, from the thousands of tracks that are out there, I can't name you 10. Well, first of all, they probably don't even have names, right?
No.
Those tracks don't have names. They're really like anonymous. I mean, hey, there's nothing but the classics still until this day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's uh, because now the last years I've been back into the popping scene, and people who's not into the popping scene, they listen to this music as it's no music. It's but for us who is poppers, of course
Yeah,
it's music. But
yeah,
and I think also that was also the problem with BC1 Red Bull from the beginning, that a lot of the B-boys, they could not really react to the music because the music was not really their favorites,
yeah.
and you were not
But
allowed to play the
it
favorites.
is,
But
but
now it's changed. Now the young generation, this is what they are grown up to.
yeah. And but it's developing. You know, the
Yeah.
music is getting better, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of
Yeah.
some of this stuff is getting good, but it's just not enough out there yet. Yeah. Um, like I said, I still prefer the classics, of course. In popping, have to say I feel different though.
Mm.
In popping, I don't want to hear too much of the classics no more.
Now we hear it enough. Planet
Yeah,
Rock, we have heard it.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, you know, like even in breaking, it's I don't know if I would like it if I would hear Apache today in a
That's right.
breaking competition, you know? Um, there is enough music out there from artists that did not come up with their tracks because of breaking. And that always makes a huge difference. So
Mhm.
there are funk bands and funk producers that just come up with good music. And then you have DJs like DJ Nobunaga from the Netherlands, who is then taking that track and only plays the break out
Mhm.
of it, or maybe the instrumental or something, and it works. But
Mhm.
most of the time, when people are saying, like, okay, and now I produce music for the breakers,
Mhm. Uh,
that's where a lot of times it goes wrong. I think the most important thing should be let me create a dope song.
yeah. Yeah.
no
Yeah.
matter no matter for who, no matter for
Yeah.
what, it's just supposed to be a dope song. Don't make it
Yeah.
too specific. And then I think you're getting on the right track, right? Uh
Yeah. Also, now the last weekend I was on in a popping event in Stockholm. It's just then a popping event, popping competition. It's only popping music. No other street dances there. It's only poppers. And I
yeah.
see the benefits and the disbenefits. I mean, it goes good and bad with it. The good is that you really get the certain right people. It's only the ones who's interested in that, but it get very narrow because it's no one else there.
Yeah.
I think this is also a part of the the development. I don't see what is good or bad, but also b-boying. It's like a lot of the events is just b-boying now, or it's also like locking and or like rap. It's only a rap event,
Yeah, like in
or
In
all the
Mexico.
graffiti, all the meeting of styles is just a graffiti event.
So just like yesterday, I told you, yes, last night I was coming back from Mexico, but in Mexico it was a breaking and popping event. That's it.
Yeah.
So the first on the last day they went through all the breaking categories first, breaking top rock, breaking kids, category, like all kinds of categories, crew,
Yeah.
one-on-one B-boys, one-on-one B-girls, and so on and on. And then all the way at the end came the popping category, and I was staying there for another 2.5 hours, and then all of a sudden, half of the audience left already because they were watching breaking for 8 hours already.
Oh. Oh my God.
You know?
When you have so many different categories, then of
Yeah.
course it. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a reflection of the
Yeah.
changes in those 45 years or
Well, and
so.
yeah, I think on one hand it's really good because you can delve really deep into it, right?
Yeah.
It's like the more specific a group becomes, the deeper it gets
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So for that, I think it's beautiful because,
Yeah.
you have a culture, the culture grows, and even, like if you want to come together at some point, and if you're
Uh,
interested in more things than just one dance style, you have that too.
yeah, I mean, you can compare it to lifestyle athletic. What is it in English? Um,
Like triathlon or something? What are you
yeah,
talking
not
about?
triathlon, but I mean, the all biathlon is called, right?
Yeah.
Where you have a runners, you have a pole jumpers, and
Uh,
but then at least in Sweden we have also, just because we have this pole jumper who is so famous, we have an event just for pole jumpers.
okay.
You know, it's a big event just for the pole jumpers. And of course, in Olympics, you have all the different
Yeah,
things
the whole
passing on for two
track
weeks.
and field. Yeah,
Yeah,
track and
track and
field.
fields, right? So of course you can have both. It's just interesting. Anyway, before we wrap up, you live now in Berlin.
Yeah.
You told me, but I still want to hear it. Is why did you move to Berlin? Why not Paris? Why not New York? Or why not
Um,
still in Lübeck or Kiel?
well, North Germany is farmer country at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Yeah. And as a professional dancer, well, anyway, you need to travel. And when I moved to so I came back from New York, and after New York, I was like, okay, no, this is it. I can't do this anymore. I have to move into a metropolitan area, and I need an international airport.
mm,
So that was my
oh, yeah,
first criteria.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
then when I looked at Berlin, Berlin Airport was so comfortable that remember Berlin Airport, Berlin Tegel,
Mm.
until it closed down, they had a security check at every gate, a personal security check at every gate. So even if you come in very, very late
Ah.
for boarding, so you only had to arrive at the airport 5 minutes before boarding because you could go directly to the gate and there was security. So even if you were the last person and you were still at security, you could wave like, "Hey, I'm still here, I'm still coming," you
Yeah.
know? So, and then also from Charlottenburg is where I live. From Charlottenburg to the airport, you could take a public bus and it would take you 7 minutes to the
Mm.
airport. That's luxury.
Yeah.
That's absolute luxury. And for a metropolitan area in Europe, Berlin has been the cheapest place for the longest.
Oh, yeah. Also that.
Paris, Amsterdam, London,
Yeah, they are
whatever,
expensive. Yeah.
even Munich or Hamburg or Frankfurt in Germany, they are a lot more expensive than Berlin. Yeah. And so when I had my apartments here,
Oh, yeah.
always easy.
Yeah.
Never had much to fix or anything. Most of the time I was living out of my boxes anyway because I was
And
traveling.
and now when you think of this, you chosen this career, like international career, which is with your dance. How has that affected your life? And what did your parents think about it? And your brother? I mean, your brother is now settled in one place and
Yeah.
he's not doing this as a living, but what do they think about it? That
Ah, I mean, with my brother, we spoke about that a lot, of course, and
yeah,
we both sure about the fact that it kind of like I mean, dance in general, that it saved our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know, we never spoke much about like our family background and stuff, but things were messed up when we were younger.
Mm.
Yeah, and so Speedy and I, we held it up. We kind of like made the promise that we were never doing drugs and stuff. And
Mm.
if you promise that to your brother, you really have to hold that promise,
Ah,
you know?
that's
So
nice.
so that kind of helped. We were protecting each other in that way as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's how it went. So he moved to Frankfurt, I moved to Berlin.
Yeah.
Every once in a while we speak to each other, we see each
Yeah.
other, but man, it's been a long time that we danced together.
Mm.
But you know, it's when it's part of your everyday life, then
Ah, yeah. Ah,
you
yeah.
don't talk about it much, you
Ah.
know? I still think that it's the most beautiful lifestyle one can have
Yeah.
when you found your passion and you can
Live
absolutely
your
live it
passion.
out.
Yeah. Ah, yeah.
And I've always been a geek. I was very, very, very obsessive when it came to dancing. I could go to practice 5, 6 hours, go home and watch video for another 6, 7 hours until I go
Yeah.
to sleep, and then still talk about dancing the whole day. And I wasn't getting tired of it, where everybody
No,
else
of
wanted to
course.
shut up and shut off. You know, I was on it forever.
Yeah, yeah. So
Even when we were together, when I came to Sweden.
yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, when you were living here also, of course, everyone that has as guests, of course, they are guests because they are very into what they are doing. And then of course, the whole everything is circulating around the dance. Yeah.
So yeah, and then my wife is a choreographer and dancer,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then my son, of course, the way he grew up on stages in
Yeah.
workshop studios and wherever. So he's dancing, and most of our friends are all dancers.
Yeah.
And then every weekend I travel somewhere else. I most of the time you meet the same people. It's not
Mm.
like of course you meet new people as well, but you know, like especially when you're judging events and stuff, it's most of the time it's the same people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have friends all over the world. It's funny, my son, he went to Porto
Yeah.
uh, a few days back. He went to Porto, and I told him, look, if you have trouble, I know where I know where you can go. I have a couple of people that you can call, you
Yeah.
know? And it's
Yeah.
just like that. You know, you have friends everywhere on the planet, and it's still like back in the days, if you need a place to crash.
Yeah. 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 You can travel around and see friends. I mean that this is the benefit of this culture that you get really friends all over the world, so to say.
Yeah.
And one subject, this behind Think Breaking,
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
book, was that the first book? Now you said that you're going to do another book.
No, it's my
Or
second book. The
yeah,
first book was the first book was called From Swipe to Storm, and
mhm.
it came out in 2000, and it's mainly about, let's just call it the history of breaking in Germany from my perspective.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
so it was
interesting.
like with everything that happened from
And that
1983.
and that you did already 2000.
Yeah.
Because now I have the feeling that it's now our generation around 50 to 60 start to think of the heritage or
Mhm.
what you came from. That but you were really early in that to make such a like a contribution or something printed
Yeah,
from
for some
from
reason, but you
the
know,
foundation.
I don't know why I'm like that, but I've always been thinking that way, also to provide information for other people to have easier access to
Yeah.
what they actually need to know about this culture.
Yeah.
And uh, you know, when you find out that you can't be everywhere I go, there are people that are asking me questions about this and that, right?
Ah,
So, and what to do with these people that don't have access,
yeah.
like
Give them the
us back in the
information.
days.
Yeah,
I
from
mean,
a book.
look at how we were living in, you know, like in the early 80s when we were just like, man,
Yeah.
just feed me, give me something. We were so hungry for information
Yeah.
that we started traveling. We just went everywhere. And whenever we had the chance to get something, we sucked it all up and then kind of like did miracles with it, right? And yeah, and so I was thinking with everything that I did from, like, so I wrote the book From Swipe to Storm about the history of breaking in Germany with, also explaining the lifestyle a little bit about how it, how it was traveling and where we went and how the first hip hop jams happened in Germany in Europe, all that. I'm also in the book, I'm talking about the trip that I did with Ken too when we went to Denmark and and we didn't find any breakers and stuff. But I did the videos that we made that we were selling at some point. Then I made a DVD, a footwork DVD called Footwork Fundamentals. That was in 2004. I came up with that, and until this day, I was the only one with Focus from Flomo, Finland. We were the only ones that made a DVD, a tutorial DVD in the days, conceptually done so that you could learn basically step by step. You could learn footwork. Nobody else did that, right? And why did I do it? Because I was teaching so much, yet I couldn't be everywhere. And every time I left places, I was like, I want to give you more. You need to know this. You need to. And I still, until this day, I'm staying in contact with certain people from those days that still remember, how we were practicing. Sometimes the workshop was supposed to be 2 or 3 hours, and I stayed 5 hours still practicing with guys, just to like, look, you got to get this before I leave.
This, this you also need in your vocabulary, so to say. Yeah.
Or this is something you should work on.
And this Think Breaking, when did that came out? The second book?
It came out in 24, in January, February 24.
Okay.
I came up with it. It's in German and in English, paperback, and it's an Amazon product, Amazon print on demand product. I tried different distributors, but they all, even some friends of mine where I knew, like that they distribute books and stuff, and I was totally vexed about the fact that they try to influence me on how my book is supposed to look like. Yeah. So one guy said that it should have more pictures. I was like, it's a book on philosophy. What kind of pictures? It's not a picture book.
It should be a picture of your brain.
So that was one, and then another guy was telling me that there shouldn't be any graffiti on the cover. It's but really disrespectful. He said, like, you want graffiti on the cover? Is this a book for children? I was like, all right. Now I know you don't understand anything about this culture.
Children.
Yeah, it's like, what do you know? So no.
And then I have some, like, all these years in the cultures. I mean, you're still here. Do you have any regrets what you have done or not have done, and what is for you for the future? I mean, what do you still want to do?
Well, if I would have any regrets, I would probably look at it more like, like in some sort of victimhood way. No, I have no regrets at all, nothing. One thing led to the next, and I think, the way I'm thinking is more, yes, I lost a couple of things, right? I lost battles. I lost abilities because of stupidity that, like either I didn't warm up or, like with my neck, like certain injuries and stuff. So now you're losing moves that you can't do anymore, like all these kind of things, but it leads to something else. Everything leads to something else, and things develop how they develop. I think the most powerful thing here is that, like I probably realized at a very young age already that losing means that you have to get up again, and that with a loss like
it also
that
brings something.
Yeah. And with a loss like that, usually it just gets you stronger. It makes you stronger in certain ways, and you learn a lot more from losing than you learn from winning, actually.
Yeah, you're right. And another thing that I personally think is, do you also have like a pride, so to say, that I was there from the beginning, or maybe it's not a pride, but it's like a gratitude that you really came from the first generation of this and you stayed into it and can give your impact so many years for all the next generations and still are. Do you have a gratitude to be part of it?
Of course I do. Of course
Yeah.
I do. I mean, if it always puts a smile on my face when I just think about how it was back in the days.
Huh?
Of course. And I think my whole life, when I think about how it developed and how it could have developed, I'm
Yeah.
super happy about like the result until now. I mean, the process is still not over. Let's see how many years we still have, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
up until now, I'm absolutely happy. And then also, with the family I have and how that developed, I'm absolutely blessed.
Mm.
This is paradise. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Nice. But
but doing my job is only painful, literally painful when you're hurt. So if something happens, like
yeah.
imagine you travel to China and I don't know, you sprain your ankle or whatever, and now you still have to get on the plane and fly back for these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you have a theater piece to do, and now I don't know, something happens in your neck, and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, and now what do I do? You can't really cancel the show, so you kind of like you follow through, you
Yeah.
still do it, even though it's gonna get worse. But yeah, you don't want to cancel.
What is your passion nowadays? What brings you to work every day? I mean, what is it? Is it that you see that you have I guess it's not anymore that, oh, now I can do 15 flares. It's not on that level. Now it's something else.
You you
And
you basically you find out how this whole thing is working on you psychologically.
yeah,
All right. So I love practicing.
yeah,
I realize how beneficial practice is for me, where I find out new things, like especially in popping, right? Every
yeah,
day. I dance every day for at least an hour, right?
yeah,
And then when I go to practice, sometimes I find out something new where I realize, oh, this is going to take me 2 to 3 months until I have it. And it makes me happy, because there's something there where, like
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
I've got something
You
to
have to
work on.
train on it. Yeah, yeah,
And at the same time also to finish these things, right? So like now you go to practice and you have a mission when you go to practice. So you're working on something, and the more you work on it, you realize it's working out. It's working out. You're getting better at it, and so on. So of course there's, like a runner's high, whatever it is,
yeah,
but you have that dopamine effect where you want that to happen again. So some practice days are really good, some are not so good, but I don't want to live without it, because at the end of the day also, like even from a
yeah.
health perspective, it keeps me in shape, but it keeps me sane as well. I
Mhm.
think this is just this is just another blessing, that you're not just that I'm not just going on a treadmill, that I'm not just pushing weights or something like
Ah,
that,
yeah.
and I'm doing
No,
my
no.
chin-ups or something. No, you're going there, you put your earpods in, right? And you
Yeah.
look weird because you're doing movements that nobody else is doing. Some people look over. Most of them, they already know you, so they mind their business. But the new guys in the gym, they look over, they like, what is that?
What?
Yeah, what is that? Some people even ask me, like, what is it called? What is that workout called that you're doing? Plus, like a lot of times I'm really working on strict rudiments where I'm repeating movements, like I put them in a 4 count or even in a 2 count, and I repeat these movements like for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. And
Okay.
then, like, so gradually you just change them, the variety of the movement, just here and there until you find a way on. Okay,
Where it
so this is,
feels
yeah,
right.
and like where, like, okay, to this song I do it like this, to the next song I do it like that, and now a bit faster, now a bit different. Now I bend it a little bit more. Now I swing
Yeah.
it a little bit more.
Yeah, of course. I could also remember when I did that type of practice, you take one song, this is a good popping song, and then just train pops, 5 minutes
Yeah.
of pops. And then you do maybe 15 W's up and down, up and down, up and down, just to
Yeah, yeah,
get the
exactly.
practice.
just a rudimentary way, just to find out how it's like, you need to learn how to economize it. You
Yeah.
still need to do it in a way where it looks interesting enough, yeah, and then with the illusionary effects that
Yeah.
you want to add to it, everything has to work together so that at the end
Yeah. Yeah.
you're going to be happy about it. Sometimes you watch it on video, then you go like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah, yeah,
part of the process as
but
well.
also sometimes you look at the video and then you see that, oh, it looks quite good
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. You
And,
get
and
surprised.
also when you see the process,
Yeah.
when you see like how it was looking like 2 weeks ago and now it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
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 And it's, I think that's a like, it's super vital, the same way as other people need to create their products in their work or whatever, so that you realize you finished something there. You're like, okay, I've got this, and now it's useful for the rest of your life. And if it's
Yeah.
something that nobody else has ever done that, there's also, the ownership idea is
Yeah.
also
Yeah. Yeah.
on it, right? And it's like sometimes, like when there's certain people that you meet, like let's say Pop and Pete, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So and then you get to meet him again, and you go like, all right, Pete,
Look.
like not really. It's not really like with Pete. It's not really like that. But yeah, you dance, and then I remember this one time, So Pete and I, we were in New York together, and I did this one move. We were teaching together. I did this one move. He was like, oh, the timing is dope. Not, like for the, and I was like, yes,
Yeah.
So it's these things, when there are people that you respect for what they're doing and for what they've done for you. And now also, like with other people, when you can share, and when you have that mutual passion, there's automatically there's a mutual relationship. And with that relationship, you just know, okay, now he's taking it somewhere else, you're taking that somewhere else, and then at some point you meet again and
Yeah.
you share again. Yeah, I think there's so many dope aspects that, like most people don't really think of when they
Well,
look at this
before we
passion.
wrap up, now you just mentioned like an anecdote with Poppin' Pete, but do you have any other such funny anecdotes? I guess you have hundreds, but do you have something that this is interesting. This is something that I would like to share.
Is there? Is there? Oh man, there were so many funny moments, great moments as well.
Mm.
Wow, I would have to think about that a bit. And I don't know how much time we have either. Let me tell you one story in like what happened to me in New York, which is really funny. And it doesn't necessarily even have anything to do with dance. There was a moment where I was going to the Zulu meetings in Bronx River um, every time. And this one time we were running late. I was going there with Wiggles and Fable. And so there's this dude on stage and he held a speech. And so, like we went in, I sat down and I listened to the guy, and then, he would say things like, yeah, the Caucasian is the devil, and the Caucasians have done this, and the Caucasians have done that, and the Caucasians have, like killed so many people, and the Caucasian, and I was like, all right. So, and then at some point he stopped. He was like, so for now, are there any questions? And I raised my arm, and he was like, yeah, what's going on? And I was like, I would like to know, what is a Caucasian? Yeah. I mean, hey, in Europe, nobody calls white people Caucasians.
No, no.
No, that's an American thing, right? But my English wasn't that good at that
No.
time that I didn't know. So I'm like, what
And
what
you
is
as a
what is it?
white ask is like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like the only European there in the crowd. And I'm like, what is a Caucasian? And everybody's looking at me. They start laughing. And I'm like, huh? And then the dude on stage, he's pointing at me and he said, you're a Caucasian. And I was like, what? With everything that he just said, all this negative stuff that he just said, he's like, And I was like, why am like, what? It's like, I'm not a Caucasian. Why am I a Caucasian? You know? And then Fable comes and he says, like, Storm, you have to understand, you know, like in America, we call white people, we call them Caucasian because
Yeah.
that's, you know, like the Caucasians, they started in the Caucasian mountains. That's where they came from. And I was like, what? I'm not from Caucasus, I said. I'm not from Caucasus. I'm from Germany. And that's when everybody laughed. Everybody was crying, man. And I was just thinking like, wow, where am I? You know? So that's a really funny story.
Yeah, that's funny. That reminds me a little bit when we went to London, 87, to look at LL Cool J
Yeah.
and Public Enemy and Eric B. and Rakim. They had a world tour. And then Public Enemy was on the stage and said, you know, white people. And it's like, all black people, raise your fists. And, you know, be black and be proud is the, you know, the song they
Yeah.
have. And then we
Uh,
three white guys from Sweden's like, oh shit, what shall we do now? So it is that is a big difference from the European scene to the from the US scene, I would say. That here
yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
an issue to be colored or
Yeah.
something.
What I liked about that moment in retrospect, right? What I
Yeah.
liked about that moment in Bronx River is that I was so freaking naive, you know, when you think about it. So there's this dude on stage and he says about he's
Mm.
talking about all the things that basically all the things that white people did and white people, you know,
Yeah.
and then it's the only white guy that's raising his hand is like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
it's
gives a little bit perspective wider than just hip hop.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's the I think that's still the beauty of it with what
yeah,
we're doing. That it was always hip hop has been an open culture from the beginning,
yeah.
and nobody ever had to show his passport or
No, no.
or anything, you know. It's
Everyone
like
is invited
yeah.
all over the world. I think that, yeah, like you
Mhm.
said, it's the beauty of this culture.
And that it grew because of cultural convergence
Yeah,
and not because of divergence. No, it's the exact opposite.
yeah, yeah,
Everything happened because of cultural convergence.
yeah.
And I think,
And still are.
yeah, yeah. And if, you know, like when you look at our politicians, sometimes I
Yeah.
wonder why they don't just come to some of our functions, to our jams, to just see
Yes. Yeah.
how things how things can work out if you wanted to.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to close the interview because that's the beauty of this culture and beauty of you, beauty of what we are doing. So thanks,
Great.
Niels.
Nice, Andreas. So,
Yes,
when am I going to see you live again?
hopefully soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully we
Yeah.
can invite you to Sweden. Um, I don't know. We'll see. Now when you're into popping more, because I saw that yesterday from Mexico,
Okay.
maybe a popping event as a popping
Okay.
judge. I mean, it
Yeah.
would be really fun, to have it. Also, you're not only a breaker. You're a
Yeah.
you're a all style dancer.
Yeah. Love to. Love to